morning. Welcome back to Impact on a Tuesday morning. Russell Thomas with Steve Yatauro, the chair of the 2017 Community Campaign. Welcome back, sir.
Thank you, Russell.
We did this at the beginning of the campaign. Seems like a long time ago.
Summer. Independence Day.
Is your red shirt starting to get worn? I mean, you wear it a lot.
I wear it proudly for the campaign season, so yes.
Man, is it anything like you thought it would be?
No, it's probably it's more challenging than I thought it would be, but actually it's been an amazing experience. You know, we're not anywhere near done yet, although coming towards the end of November. But yeah, been a fantastic experience, one that I relish.
One of the things we've talked about internally is the fact that what we call the campaign window is 10 weeks. But in truth, we do accept donations that will be sort of allocated to the campaign right until the very end of the year.
Absolutely. Yeah, we want to encourage everyone, even though you might have heard when I opened the campaign back on September 7th, we talked about that period ending November 17th. But reality is we're open and accepting donations all the way through the end of the year.
Yeah, and the reason we have a campaign window is it's the period of time when our partner agencies really focus their efforts on the campaign as opposed to fundraising for themselves individually.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been an action-packed 10 weeks. You know, it seems like it's been a while since that September 7th event that we had at the Golden Year Society, but never a dull moment. In fact, we'll be going to kick off another one of our workplace campaigns down at Nexon right after the show today. So looking forward to that.
Now, some time ago, about a week and a half ago, we sort of shared with the community where we thought we were going to be at the end of the campaign. Let's talk about that. Talk about where you think we're going to be and sort of the call to action, asking people to maybe help get us closer.
Yeah, let me just go back to when we talked the last time. We hadn't even set completely our goal for the campaign, but in that time period, we really focused on, what should the goal be this year, and we arrived on what you've heard me talk about many times, and that's the community need goal. And that's the $7.1 million that we announced. And a lot of people have asked me through the campaign, well, how did you come up with that number? And it's really quite simple. It was based on looking at our 31 member agencies and the programs that they delivered last year, looking forward, saying at a minimum, they expected their needs to either be equal to or greater than the prior year. And last year was what equated to a $7.1 million campaign. So that really defined our community need goal that you hear me talk about a lot. We knew it was going to be extremely challenging. The last couple of years have seen a lot in terms of downturn of economy, the wildfire in 2016. So we knew we were up against a tremendous challenge. But we thought, how could we set a goal that would be less than what that need is in the community in our 31 member agency? So we've been working hard every day of the campaign, really focused on talking about that need and encouraging people to help us to meet that need goal. And as we get towards the end of the period, we're projecting out, and we do foresee yet another challenging year and potentially a gap in that need. Not only in terms of the donations received, but also as we start to talk to our agencies about their needs for the coming years, it's really not a surprise that those needs are expected to grow, which we kind of anticipated, Russell. So,
along the way, I know you've been at many events where agency people come and participate in fundraising activities. They share their stories. What are you hearing from the agencies specifically in terms of how things are changing for them in terms of demand for their services, the interest in their programs, et cetera?
Well, I think clearly coming out of the event that we experienced in 2016, and talking with all kinds of experts and other communities that have gone through something like what we experienced here, we knew that likely the need that we were going to see from a community social infrastructure perspective was going to likely increase as the years got farther removed from the event. So I think the agencies, which we continue to talk to regularly, have indicated that they did expect to see that need increase. Obviously, many of the agencies are going through their own challenges with staff and, again, with the economic downturn. So So without a doubt, when I've been out talking with the agencies, their need is there, and they're really counting on the United Way to do everything we can to help them, with that critical funding for the programs that they deliver.
Some people have said that the fire was our second disaster. The first was the economic downturn. What do you think the cumulative impact is of both the fire and the realities of what this economic downturn has meant for families in our community?
Well, it's been a huge challenge. It would be an understatement. As the price of oil turned over late 14 into 15, we started to see a lot of the larger projects curtailed. A lot of impact on local businesses, things like that, and then obviously through the wildfire and people having to be displaced from their homes. So we're seeing it in all aspects, I think, of our economy and the community, and the social, the nonprofit infrastructure is no different. So they're seeing some of the same challenges. That being said, the generosity of the Wood Buffalo region is incredible. It's something that I've being here a little over 3 years now, I've witnessed just time and time again, the region always steps up to challenges. And even with as tough of a few years as we've had, the stories of generosity in this campaign are incredible when you think about how much money we have raised up to this date. So,
you're projecting, if everything stays the way we think, what is the projection for what we're going to raise?
Well, as best we can tell, looking at our trends and everything else, Russell, we're projecting somewhere in the order of a $1 to $1.5 million gap between that $7.1 million need goal and what we're expecting to bring in. So clearly, we've looked at ways to continue to raise the bar and look for other ways to bring in additional funds as we get through the last couple of months of the year.
Of course, we got the Give What You Can auction happening right now, and the Give What You Can challenge, which a number of people have responded to, including the tweet from Scotty Upshaw on the weekend. Good job on that, Steve.
Yeah, it's awesome to be able to again count on people like Scotty, born and raised in Fort McMurray. Obviously with the St. Louis Blues now, but to accept the challenge and spread that word is really awesome. So really appreciate that from him and others.
My guest this morning is Steve Yatauro. Steve is the chair of the 2017 United Way Community Campaign, which is on right now, and we'll be accepting donations right up until the stroke of midnight on December 31st. It's remarkable, by the way, what happened last year, and we know it was probably because the fire and the interest in Fort McMurray, but those donations do keep rolling in right until the end of the year. We're going to take a break and come back with more of Impact right after this. Welcome back to the show. Russell Thomas in studio with Steve Yatauro, who's the chair of the United Way Community Campaign. One of the things that's interesting about Steve is that he grew up where he could watch the rockets take off from Cape Canaveral. Mm-hmm. Did I get that right?
That's correct.
It was something Atlantic. What was the name of the
Indialantic.
Indialantic. What an interesting name. In Florida. And you spent a lot of time volunteering with United Way early in your career. In fact, you're kind of approaching a quarter century of volunteering. I don't mean to make you sound old. Yeah. You're younger than me. What is it? 25 years, really. Why? Why is this important to you?
Well, early on in my career and really even going back earlier in time, my parents were a huge influence on me in terms of their generosity and giving back into the community. My dad was a member of the local Salvation Army advisory board, and so I kind of had that, I kind of had that exhibited to me when I was growing up. But when I got out of school, university, my first job, basically, I was approached early on about they were right in the middle of a United Way campaign in the fall down in Houston. So they several of my coworkers asked me about getting involved. Day of Caring, kind of a seeing is believing equivalent. And once I went and saw the needs in a community like Houston and saw, how much appreciated even the smallest amount of time and generosity was, it really just continued to inspire me. How could I be involved? How could I stay involved? So, yeah, over my 25-plus year career, United Way's always been a part of that in the places that I've lived and worked. So it was a real pleasure when I came up to Fort McMurray to be able to get involved early in the United Way.
Well, you picked a year to be chair that is a challenging year for sure, but one of the things, sort of as I'm intimately involved in it, that I've observed is that there's been a theme of change that you've brought to the campaign, that you've challenged us to try some different things. And so, first of all, we did a more scaled down, intimate launch at the Golden Years Society. We did the United Way Family Day, which it was scary for some of us, but it felt like it was a great success. What was your thoughts on that particular event?
Well, I remember several of the conversations we had in planning. It's like, we want to do what? When? How are we going to do that? No, on a serious note, though, I think as the United Way, as the board, and obviously working with yourself and other staff who have been here for many years, we felt it was important to reconnect with the roots, the community roots, and really reconnect with the agencies that we work hard to provide support for. So just kind of that theme, I think, was part of the vision for this year's campaign. So you mentioned getting back to roots, opening up the campaign at the Golden Years Society, one of our member agencies that, again, provides awesome services for our seniors in the community. And then Family Day was something, last year we had the big kickoff at Mac Island, and so many people came and said, we really enjoyed getting to come as a family and make that connection to the United Way and what they do in the community. So we looked for ways to do that again this year, and I hope it's going to be an annual event. It was a lot of fun. We had obviously over 1,200 members of the community that were able to come and experience the Family Day, 31 of our agencies there. What was really neat, too, is talking with the agency representatives. They talked about how impressed they were, not only established community members, young adults, but also the youth that came up to their booths and asked about their services and were really engaged. So getting the next generation involved and things like that. The talent show was amazing that we had with the youth talent show, which again, thanks to that was a great idea, just in terms of how do we, again, bring people together for a great cause. So
I think the highlight for me was a long-term resident who lives in Beacon Hill. Like, when I say long-term, they've lived here for forever. She said, after visiting the agency showcase, that she had no idea about the number and variety of agencies that the United Way funds. None. And I think that's really an important point. And I know prior to working at the United Way, my knowledge about what the United Way really did was minimal. And so just the education piece is so important. As you've been around the various workplace campaigns, and I know there's a couple of superstars in terms of telling this story and connecting people to the why United Way is so important, but are there several that jump out to you?
Oh, yes. I mean, several have been featured in prior campaigns. Really, the workplace campaign chairs and all the people that volunteer at the workplace are amazing. There's so many stories I think about in how, well, first of all of the workplace campaign chairs have full-time jobs. So all of the stuff that they donate time and talent-wise to the campaign is because they really, it means something to them. And they all connect in a unique way. But one of the most inspiring things about the workplace campaigns is really seeing how involved the chairs and the committee members get in the community. And I think, to your point, once they really understand and they go on the Seeing is Believing tours or they participate in the Day of Caring, it's just amazing to watch them bring that back to the workplace and inspire others to do the same. So we wouldn't have a campaign without those dedicated men and women that lead the workplace events.
I get the sense that people that may not be exposed to a workplace campaign or may never get asked to pledge on their as a payroll deduction, they hear the big number that we raise every year, but they don't really see the people behind that number. But it's literally thousands of people that give every year.
Yeah, the numbers sometimes can be overwhelming to people, and when you boil it down, one particular workplace campaign. I know personally the chair and the co-chair of this particular campaign. I mean, they went to and delivered over almost 140 individual sessions with small groups of employees, just talking about the importance, the need we have in our community. So you're right, it's a lot of little donations that add up to a big amount.
And when they get to people's hearts, people respond. And in the case, I think, if that workplace, over 600 or 700 new donors this year.
Yeah.
Like, the numbers are staggering. So to all of those folks, thank you. I mean, we can't say it enough, can we?
No. I mean, again, as tough as it is to think about a gap that we have potentially in our need goal, it's not for just unbelievable effort on the part of all these workplace campaign chairs. They are working so hard. There's no doubt can absolutely tell anybody in the community. We've seen as much effort and inspired dedication to this campaign than any that I've been associated with, and we're going to keep doing that all the way through the end of the year. Hence, even the United Way Give What You Can challenge.
Which is really, really cool. If you haven't heard about it, very simply is we're inviting people and businesses to give what they can and to challenge others to do the same on their social media. The power of social networking is not to be underestimated in this case.
Yeah, for all the listeners and viewers watching, it's would encourage everybody to go to the United Way webpage, fmunitedway.com. We've made it real easy for anybody in the community that wishes to help us in this cause to click the Donate Now button. I've done it myself. It's very easy to follow. And then we're asking people, as you say, to challenge 3 others that they know, friends, colleagues, small businesses, to do the same. And like you said, through the power of social media and getting that word out, I really feel confident that once people understand and know the need and then feel like they can be a part, that'll make a huge difference. And not everybody's involved with the workplace campaign, so we thought this was a really needed add, if you will, to the campaign to give the entire region an opportunity, and maybe even folks outside the region, family, friends that want to help old hometown
Absolutely.
folks being able to participate.
I know Alan Kramer's grandparents decided to do the same. Alan from Finning. My guest this morning is Steve Yatauro, who's the chair of the community campaign with the United Way, which is striving towards a community need goal of $7.1 million. We're going to hammer it hard right till the end of the year. You're listening to Impact. It is a team effort of United Way, Fuse Social, Shaw TV, Fort McMurray, and our friends here at 91.1 The Bridge. Welcome back to the program, live from the studios in Composite High School. We actually got to go in the front door today. So after the show, I'm going to go buy a lottery ticket, because I said I wasn't expecting that to happen. It's been a time of transformation here at the school. And my guest this morning is Steve Yatauro, who was here earlier this fall at the beginning of the campaign when it was a lot of construction going on, so it's much improved. Mm-hmm. Steve is the chair of the community campaign with the United Way in his free time, which is never free anymore. And during his work time, he's a vice president at Syncrude. So I'm going to ask a sort of mixed question, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. In talking to somebody over the weekend and observing a lot of things happening in the community, a major development going up at Eagle Ridge, downtown, that monstrosity that was sitting there forever is all of a sudden full-blown construction, that big high-rise condo building, and many other things. The oil price is almost the highest that it's been in 3 years. Should we be optimistic? Or let me rephrase that. Can we be optimistic?
Well, I think you can always be optimistic. I think that's important for us, regardless of the endeavor, whether it's industry and obviously the price of oil, which nobody can predict. So, we always, from a business sense, you're always preparing for the future, if you will, in terms of thinking ahead. And, I think as it relates to the community, the infrastructure, even the campaign this year, we we really are looking at this year as well as reestablishing a strong base, as I mentioned earlier in the show, making the connection back to the community real needs, the agencies themselves. I mentioned earlier the 31 agencies that we currently have and their expected needs growing over the coming year and years ahead. We've also got several new agencies that are expressing a desire to seek help from the United Way and funding. So exciting times, I think, in terms of that need, and I think people understand the value and what United Way can bring, not only from the funds, but also the collaborative effort, getting all these agencies together, many of them in the Red Pole Center, the collaboration. I think to face the future, which we don't know, what is that old saying? The only constant is change. I think we're going to continue to see plenty of change, so we want to be ready, and I'm optimistic.
One of the great tools that came to the campaign late in the campaign is the auction that we're doing, the Give What You Can auction, and it's been really cool to watch some of the things that have been donated. Like an example is the big bottle of wine, the Tragically Hip wine, signed by the entire band, including Gord Downey. I think when I left the office, it was at $600, and there's a little bit of a bidding war going on, but that's a one-of-a-kind piece. It's a limited edition bottle of wine. Of course, Gord Downey's not going to be able to sign anything else ever again.
No.
And it's a really special piece. That's one example. Another one is something like a vehicle wrap that came in this morning from the folks at Fire Pros, a $5,000 vehicle wrap. Amazing.
Awesome.
Yeah. So encourage people to come out and, you know what? Yeah, you're going to get a product, but at the same time, you're actually going to be helping us get closer to meeting that community need goal.
Yeah, back to the encourage everyone that might be interested in the items that you mentioned and many others that are available on the auction site. You can visit the website.
Maybe I should give them that. So
please.
It's 32auctions.com/FM United Way. Or look on our Facebook page because we're, or our Twitter account because we're putting that out every 5 minutes or so. Well, maybe not quite. And a cool one that came in, parents, if you're listening, the fire department, awesome folks. They're doing this thing, and I don't have all the particulars, but the concept is you get a private tour. Your kids get a private tour with your kid and 3 of their best friends and mom or dad at the fire hall, and they get to do all these things. I actually went on this a couple of years ago with Colin Hardigan's boys.
Nice. And
it was unbelievable. And at the end, when it's all done, you get to have a meal with the firefighters in the fire hall, and then they take you home in the fire truck. Like, that's just awesome.
Yeah.
So that should go really, really well.
Yeah, I think part of the campaign, is connecting as a community, having some fun too. That's something that I'll always remember about this experience. Whether it was at the family day, the opening a breakfast at Golden Years, the many events and kickoffs that we've done, it's always been a lot of smiles, seeing whether it's the agencies that are involved in helping out, or the workplace chairs, or just being in the community supporting the United Way. It brings a smile to most people's face. So,
toughest question for the very end. When you reflect on the lead up to and the actual running of the campaign, high point for Steve Yatauro.
Oh, just being involved in this extremely challenging yet really inspiring thing known as the United Way annual campaign, and to be able to help the community out in this way, encourage others to be involved, to meet that need that we have that you see present in so many ways. That's by far been the high point, Russell. It's been a great experience for me.
Thank you to you, Steve, and to Trish, your wife, for being so supportive as well, because you guys have done so much and continue to do that, and will right up until the end of the year. So thank you, sir.
Well, thank you, and I also want to say thanks to you, Russell, because you're bringing here close to the last day of
at United Way. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's been a couple of years that I've gotten to know you, and just so many of the campaign ideas that we came up with were yours. Your amazing generosity with your talent, your artistic talent, and really just been a good mentor to me in terms of getting me acclimated to the community and connecting with the United Way. So all the best to you and Heather as you start your new journey.
Thank you, sir. It's been an honor. My guest this morning, Steve Yatauro, the chair of the 2017 United Way Community Campaign. The window is closing, but it's staying open in a sense. You can donate right up until the end of the year, and encourage you to do that. Give what you can. Give what you can. Doesn't matter how big it is, but if you can connect with us in some way, it's going to make a difference. You've been listening to Impact. It is a team effort of United Way, Fuse Social, Shaw TV, Fort McMurray, and 91.1 The Bridge.